Here are 7 things to consider before selling your home because of a divorce. Hey everybody, this is Matt Stone with Coldwell Banker and First North Real Estate Team. You know, getting divorced can really, really suck. It is really, really tough. It can bring out the worst in otherwise really, really good people. In fact, I have a number of attorneys that I know, and they all say that, you know, in a criminal type situation in the courts, that process brings out the best in people. You know, you have someone who's accused of pretty heinous crime or something, and they clean up really good. They put on a suit that they've never worn in their life. They cut their hair. You know, they cover the tattoos. They do all kinds of things to really bring out the best in them, to make them look as good and innocent as possible. But then in a divorce situation, you have people who are pretty good people in regular life, but that divorce just brings out the nastiness and all the worst things about them. So not a good situation. You know, emotions run really high. Obviously, if they weren't, they probably wouldn't be getting divorced in the first place. So this video, I'm creating this to give you some things to consider before you put your house up for sale and before you actually get divorced. Now, I'm not an attorney and I'm not a CPA, but I do help a lot of people who are going through divorce and need to sell their home. And I've been divorced myself, so I understand how difficult it can be on a lot of different levels. And every situation is different, of course, and some are better than others. But I do understand you know, the situation, and I empathize with people going through this time of their life. You know, it's so much better when couples can come to some agreements on things, you know, especially about their home. I've heard that the 2 biggest stressors in life are either getting divorced or selling a home. And in this situation, you've got both. And so I know how difficult it can be. But when 2 parties can agree on some things, it sure makes the process a lot smoother for everybody. You know, people can move on a little bit faster. I understand sometimes that cannot happen, and the courts need to get involved. But if at all possible, it's great when couples can agree outside of the courts. You know, a lot of times when people are getting divorced, the money from the sale of their home is what they have to move forward in life, to get a new job, to move to a new area, to start over. And the less that the courts can be involved mean the more money that people have generally to move forward and get on with their lives. So that's why I created this. Consider these things, you know, before you move forward with the divorce and before you move forward with selling the home. All right, so here are the 7 things that I think you ought to consider. All right, number 1, is selling the home your only option or the best option? And what I mean by that is sometimes there are other options. There are times when couples may decide that one or the other can buy them out. They refinance, they get a quitclaim deed, they figure out a way through family help or whatever the situation is to buy the person out at some fair value, and then it's done. You don't have to go through the hassle of selling the house and showing it and all those types of things. It's just done. Another option might be to rent the home. In this market especially, rents are really high, and that might be an opportunity for people to have income coming in and again, not have to go through the process of selling the house. So, you know, most times selling the house is the best option, but I want people to consider it's not the only option, and it's something that ought to be thought through. All right, number 2, are you going to be selling the home as is, or are you going to do some repairs on it first? And along with that, are you going to be selling personal items, you know, in the home, like furniture and things like that, or is it just going to be the home? You know, the reason I bring this up is a lot of times people think, oh, we need to do, you know, major repairs on the home, or maybe people think, you know, no, we're just going to sell it as is. And I think that's worth consideration in a conversation with someone who knows the market and knows what buyers are looking for. Sometimes it's a situation. I always tell people, look, a fresh coat of paint, a good cleaning, especially on the floors, and fixing some broken windows or cracked windows. Well, that's always a good idea, and it's very inexpensive. But before you finish the basement, or put a new roof on or something like that, I think it's a good idea to have a good conversation with someone who knows the market, because you may not get all your money out of it. You might get more than you put into it. But again, something to talk about and consider before just kind of making a snap judgment on that. Okay, number 3 is who's going to have the responsibility of keeping the home up while people are coming over, looking at the home, showings are going on, things like that. Typically it's the person who's living in the home, but not always. Sometimes both parties are still living in the home. Sometimes nobody's living in the home. And there are some things that need to be done. The maintenance on the yard. You want to keep the house fresh looking. You want to have good curb appeal. You want to make sure the inside is uncluttered and tidy and clean, those types of things. And so, it's good in advance to be thinking about that and who's going to be in charge of that. All right, number 4. And you'll probably want to consult your attorney or your CPA or, tax advisor on this one. But, if you can you get your home sold before the divorce is final? And the reason that's something to consider is because of capital gains. Now, here in Utah and many other places, when a married couple sells a home, they get up to $500,000 in profits before they have to start paying capital gains tax. If you're single, if you're unmarried when you sell the home, even if both parties are on title or anything like that, then that amount drops down to $250,000. Now, at the end of the home being sold and the money's being distributed, the tax liability comes into play before that money gets distributed, oftentimes. And so if you can get it sold while you're still married, before the divorce is final, many times, especially in this market where there's a lot of equity in a lot of homes, it's always a good idea, so that there's far less tax to be paid and more money that gets to be kept in your pocket. All right, number 5, and this is always a difficult one, even in the best of circumstances, but how is the communication going to be held or handled during the sale of the home, during the showings, the paperwork, the negotiations, to closing, those types of things? Are you going to do it face-to-face? Are you going to do it in mediation? Are you going to do it through attorneys? Are you going to do it through Zoom or text messages or emails? I always recommend that it be done in some way where, first of all, everybody feels like their voice is heard and they have all the information. It almost never works out good when someone feels like they're out of the loop. They didn't get all the information, or decisions were made without their input. Almost never ends good and usually causes big problems. The other thing is, I encourage people to do it in a way where either there's a third party there, or it can be recorded in some way. Text messages are recorded, emails are recorded. You can record Zoom calls, you can record, other video conferencing and things like that. So definitely something to consider, again, so that everybody is on the same page and things run smoothly through the entire process. All right, number 6, and this answer is always different for everyone, and it can change through the process, and that is it more important to get the home sold quickly, or is it more important to get the most money for it? Some people that I've worked with say, look, as long as the home is sold within 6 months, then we'll get the best we can within 6 months. Other people say, no, look, it can take a year or two before it has to be sold. Other people are saying, no, look, this thing needs to be sold in the next 6 weeks so that we can move on and get on with our lives and things like that. There's no right or wrong answer for anybody. It's different for everybody's situation. But I think it's something to really think about, and think about your plans, and think about the situation and the relationship that you still have or don't have with the other person, and come up with something that will work for both parties. All right, and number 7. So who is going to sell your home for you? Are you going to put it up for sale by owner and take care of the process all by yourself? Many people try that, at least start that way, and then decide if that's the best option down the road. Some people choose to go with a friend or a family member. In my opinion, that's usually a recipe for disaster because there are biases involved. There are secrets that are kept. Somebody feels like there's scheming and conniving and plotting and planning and those types of things. My recommendation is that you find someone who's neutral, who can represent both of you. And with a real estate agent, it's different than attorneys. An attorney is going to represent one party or the other. They're not going to represent both. But with a real estate agent, they do represent both parties. And so there's a lot of communication involved. There's negotiating involved. There's planning and a lot of decisions to be made. And so, in my opinion, I think it's very important that you find someone that has experience, both with selling houses and hopefully with divorce, and someone who can represent you both equally and fairly, and that you both feel comfortable with. Okay, so there you have it. Those are my 7 items for consideration before you get divorced and before you put your house up for sale. If you have some ideas for some important things that I missed, please put it in the comments. I'd love to discuss it, love to make another video about the things that I missed. If you have any questions about anything, you can also put that in the comments below. As well, though, you can reach out to me. I've got my personal cell phone there, my email, all my social media is there. You can reach out to me however you want to. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you have specific things that you'd like some information on, I'm just here to help. The reason that I make these videos is just to bring value to people. And I don't really get to choose the way that value gets put out there. You do. And so if there's something that you would find valuable, whether it's another video or just some questions answered, please let me know. And again, I'm here to do my best to help you. So look for another video coming out very soon. And until then, good luck and bye-bye.